Welcome to From One Place to Another. I'm Rabab, and this is my friend and co-host Millie.
Hi, thanks for tuning in. We've conducted a survey of our local junior class and found that 70% of students have at least moved once between the ages of 4 and 7 years old.
And this just shows that moving is a very common experience.
So we've both been through the whole packing up your life thing, but while I packed my bags and moved halfway across the world, Millie made the jump from coast to coast, staying within the same country.
So today we're going to compare our experiences.
So I moved from New York to Tri-Cities, Washington for my family who lived in here and for my mom's job. It was a big change for me because I was moving and I've never done it before at 5 years old. Also, it was a different experience from living in New York, which was a bigger city, and to a much smaller rural Washington. It was pretty exciting because I got to go on a plane and meet a whole bunch of new people. One good thing about moving is that I was going to be closer to my family, which I didn't have in New York. We just had like friends and stuff. One thing that wasn't the best was being far away from my dad for a whole year because he had to sell the house and we were all by ourselves in Washington. I remember feeling happy about moving, but also sad that we were leaving the place I had only known. How about you, Rabab?
I moved from the United Arab Emirates to Washington State in the Tri-Cities, and I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, which I know you were at a similar age as well.
Yeah.
I also had a similar experiences with leaving all my friends behind and having to make new ones while moving here. As a kid, it's easier to make friends. I moved in the middle of the school year, so I was kind of that new girl and people just came to me and they wanted to talk to me.
Right.
I think in the survey as well, a lot of people responded that when they were kids, it was easy making friends, but if they moved when they were older, it was much more harder and they were much more socially isolated.
Right.
Something good about me moving here was that my education improved greatly. I think the education I was getting in the Arab Emirates wasn't very good at all. It really wasn't that good. Another thing that's good is that I did already have some family, not a lot, but some family over here that had moved for similar reasons, for education and for jobs. But something bad about moving here was that whole isolation thing with making new friends. It was definitely overwhelming, but I did have to get used to it.
That's so interesting. Even though I didn't move internationally, I think it was still a big deal for moving and feeling like a fish out of water. What was the biggest culture shock for you from moving from different countries?
I had to learn kind of how everyone acted. At least in the Tri-Cities, people are definitely more laid back, but the Arab Emirates has, there's different districts, and each district has a very busy hustle culture, maybe
Yeah.
similar to New York where you used to live. So everyone was always kind of on that grind to find the next big thing. Was there something that stood out to you when you moved?
I think it was just going from like a more populated city to a smaller one, going more rural, and everything being so much further away. I think was a big change from the different atmospheres of the city. Was really a big difference. How about you?
I know that my mom had to get used to the culture a lot too, especially because she didn't speak a lot of English when we came here. She primarily spoke only Arabic, and she had to kind of just learn English by talking to others in English. And like you said, how you had to be away from family in New York, I also had to deal with my father working internationally, so I wasn't, and still am not able to see him very often. What's something that helped you get used to the change?
I think it was my family being there, which I've never had before back in New York. I think that was really helpful, and then making new friends at school and having them there and building relationships with that was really cool. How about you?
That's good to know, because since I did have some family over there that had already gotten used to the culture and everything, I was also able to just talk with them and share my experience, and they were able to talk me through everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had moved again when I was 12 or 13 to just another school, and since I was older, I was definitely experiencing some isolation because it was harder to make friends when you're older and you have to deal with such a big change again in your life. And I know the people in the survey reported the same feeling where they had been almost tainted, like they couldn't make friends again the way they used to. Now it's time for something different. We reach out to someone who's never moved from their hometown. Let's get their perspective on staying in one place their whole life and whether they think it's harder or easier than moving. Welcome to the podcast, Addison.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat about it.
So, Addison, tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you ever thought that moving somewhere else or staying anywhere in one place?
Well, I've always kind of lived in the Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
And it's really just because that's just kind of my family history. All my family lives here. And even like my parents, they come from like Spokane, really only 2 hours away. So a lot of us really just born in Washington, stay in Washington. So that's just kind of the trend. I guess what's keeping me here really is just my family, because I feel like I can't break that tradition. I feel like that's how my family feels, that since all their support is here, that leaving would kind of, I don't know, mess things up.
Do you see yourself moving, or do you think you're going to stay here?
I feel like I need to move. I feel like this next generation needs to break the cycle. So I've definitely considered myself moving, and not just like moving states. I've always pictured myself moving countries, because we need to change things up.
For people like me and Millie, moving has been a huge part of our lives. Do you ever feel like you're missing out on experiences or opportunities?
I would say so, because I really have only been immersed in like one specific culture, and I only have learned really what my family has taught me. So I definitely think I'm missing, I would say, a different perspective. Going to a different country, new people, new culture isn't something I've experienced. So I definitely think my life has been, I don't want to say boring, but maybe one-sided. I think no matter where you go, it'll be different. Because I mean, Tri-City is kind of a smaller town to begin with, so we already have that small town community. And so even moving to like Seattle, I know would be a huge change.
For sure. I agree.
Yeah, I definitely think it'd be a huge adjustment, because I don't have my family with me. I mean, they live like 2 blocks from me, so I think I'd feel alone. I think would be the biggest challenge.
So homesick, more say?
Homesick, yes, for sure.
It was very fascinating to hear Addison's experience of just staying in one place all her life.
Yeah, looking back at what she had versus what I had, I think I really envy her experience, because I went to a lot of different elementary schools, and like staying in one place would have been like the dream then. And moving every half year was a lot, so I think I would have been very jealous of that and staying in one place.
Something I read in the survey that stood out to me actually was that someone had reported that they get jealous when they see friends who have been friends since kindergarten or preschool or even the year they were born, because since he or she had to move at such a young age, they never got the opportunity to make a lifelong friend, and they kind of had to abandon all of their friends instead.
Since I had moved at such a young age, and then again when I was older, it was a lot to adapt to in such a short amount of time that I constantly feel like I need a new change, that I feel locked in, like Addison explained, that she's locked in one place as if she has to stay here. Since I haven't moved since then, when I was 12 or 13, I feel the desire to move again.
And for our listeners, whether or not you've moved a lot or never moved, or just thinking about it, it's a whole part that shapes you. We hope you've enjoyed listening to our stories in the interview today.
Keep exploring wherever you are.